Welcome to AM. My name's Richard Conway, and this is the platform for age group multisport athletes to showcase their journeys. Episode 38 of AMP, and on this episode we have fresh from a successful campaign at the ETU Triathlon in Valencia, Jan Fletcher. Jan, who's from the Isle of Wight, raced in both the sprint and the standard races over the weekend, and she got a bronze medal in the sprint, so congratulations to Jan. We chat about the complexity of actually going and racing abroad, and Jan also explained something that I had no idea even existed about the Island Games, of which she's competed in as well. So really good chat with Jan. Hope you enjoy it. And that's coming up shortly. Well, the weather's definitely changing now. We are well and truly in autumn. Temperatures have dropped, so yeah, it's autumn is well upon us. And get out when it's nice, and train indoors when it's not. Speaking of training, still not running. Well, actually, that's a lie. I went for my first physio session and been given some exercises to do. Apparently, it's my IT band that's the issue, which is giving me knee pain and could have caused the calf strain. So she's given some exercises for that. Thank you, Laura. Who was also running the London Marathon this weekend. I hope it went well. And so Laura's given me some exercise to do, and I'm going to incorporate those in the yoga that I do every day. And I am also starting back running and doing a couch to 5k. So I've done 2 sessions so far on that. It's just nice to be back running. Also had my first swim back with my club, WBC, since I went across to see Adam Walker at Ocean Walker and changed my swim stroke, and it was okay actually. Yeah, I didn't hold anybody up and kept my stroke as good as it is so far. I've got to get back to see Adam in a few weeks, and congratulations to Adam actually, because he's just had a little baby boy. I think the little boy's called Kai, after the ocean round Hawaii. So, and if you haven't been to the Ocean Walker Academy in Rugby, seek it out. Have a look on Instagram and see how fantastic it is. And I'll keep banging on about it, but it's really worth a trip, especially if you're over this side near Lincolnshire. Just been watching the Paris-Roubaix and the London Marathon this weekend, and it was fantastic to see Brit Lizzie Digan win the Paris-Roubaix, historical race, because it's the first one the women have ever done. So Lizzie's name will now be cemented in history. And it was the men's today, and that was another exciting race. The conditions were absolutely horrific. If you've not seen them, get on YouTube and have a look. It was absolutely dire. You couldn't recognise the riders by the time they finished, because it was absolutely heaving down with rain. And for those who don't know about Paris-Roubaix, they go along the cobblestones and the roads are just foul. It's almost like cyclocross rather than road racing. So that was exciting to watch. Also, the London Marathon finally took place, and I didn't see the end of it, but it was going well, and well done if you took part in that race. And I hope you enjoyed it and were happy with your times. And just going back to Valencia, congratulations to all the athletes, age groupers who took part, and if you medalled, fantastic, well done. I hope you enjoyed the experience. So other than watching sport on the TV, been listening to a few podcasts while I've been working, as I do, and a couple to note were from Tri. And they had 20 training tips for better bike splits, and also what metrics that matter and those that don't. And then the other one that I listened to and I thought was really good was the Inside a Tri show. Helen had Dr. Rich Burden on, and they were discussing iron deficiency because Helen had to pull out of an Ironman race not so long ago, and she couldn't understand why. She'd been feeling rubbish in training, and she just didn't have the legs in the race, and it was because she was deficient in iron. So if you haven't heard that, that's really good. It might be something for you to check. And finally, I listened to a podcast called The Daily Stoke by Ryan Holiday, whose book I've just finished actually. And he had Bob Bowman, swim coach of Michael Phelps, on. And it was a real insight into high performance coaching, so that's worth a listen. And going back to Ryan Holiday's book, really interesting. It's called Stillness is the Way, and had a fascinating chapter, Finding a Hobby. Overall, I was a bit disappointed with the book because I was expecting him to explain stillness and how you go about it. But actually, after listening to his Daily Stoic with Bob Bowman, I understood that actually you don't need to be actually still to be still. That sounds a bit weird. And I guess what they're talking about is being in that flow state. So you're actually not thinking about anything at all. You're just doing something, and it takes your mind off everything. And that could be anything. You could be doing anything, and you're that engrossed in it. You're just not thinking about anything else. And I used to do Aikido for 10 years, and that was exactly the state that we were in when we were doing it. We were focusing that much on techniques and things that once we were on the mat, everything else outside of it just didn't matter. We were just trying to do the best we could. So I get it, I understand it. And I guess a bit of swimming's like that, because you're underwater, and this is what Bob Bowman was saying, you're in the water, you can't hear anything. I guess it's probably one of the only sports where actually when you're doing it, you don't hear anything at all, not the coaches, not people around you, unless you stop. So I guess that's a sort of flow state as well. So, but really interesting podcast, and an interesting book as well. Which leads us on to, that thing about leisure. It got me to thinking that historically leisure meant freedom from work, didn't it? And most people, and it's up to them, it's a free country, free world, they're just like lazing around and doing nothing, actually, because it gets them away from work, and not everybody's into exercise like we are. But in this book, Holiday tries to explain that leisure is activity. You don't get any pay for it, and you don't have to do it, and the only reason you're doing it is for you. And that's quite true. The reason we do triathlon is for us. It's a lifestyle, as I've said quite often before, and also it's to keep us healthy and fit, and we've just got that mindset. He also stated that, which was quite interesting, that it's a humility of being bad at something, and we can all relate to that, can't we, when we've started triathlon, being bad at one of the 3 disciplines, well actually one of the 4 disciplines, as you'll hear us discuss, me and Jan in the interview, about not being very good at transition, and putting our feet in and out the pedals and things. But yeah, so I mean, you might not have been a very good swimmer when you started, but it's that humility of not being very good at something, because we're novices at the end of the day. It's just a hobby, and I think it's all about having the confidence in the process, as we do in this field of multisport. As I always say at the end of the show, stay safe and keep training, and just follow the process, whether that that's your own plan, somebody else's plan that your coaches put out for you. It's a process, and we need to follow it and see where it takes us. And it's a life balance, isn't it? It's not all encompassing. As I've just said, we're not getting paid to do this. We do it because we want to do it, and it's an escape. And actually, one of my previous guests quite poignantly just posted on Instagram, Lee Ross from episode 7, and he put a post up titled "This Isn't Me," and underneath that, well, above that, he had a picture of him on a TT bike. If you want to have a look at it, he's on Instagram as Fat to Fin. That's his account name, and he was just setting the record straight about how small a part of being a multi-sport athlete was in his life. But it got me to thinking, and just thought it was quite an interesting thing to bring up. Bit deep, sorry about that. Yeah, going very deep there. So I'll not even mention the last bit, yes I will, which states this. He states there is nourishment in pursuits that have no purpose, because that is their purpose. Wow. Said I wasn't going to go very deep, as if it hadn't been deep enough already. Anyway, enough of that. Enough of me waffling. It's now time for the main event. I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Jan, and I'll see you on the other side. So you're on the Isle of Wight, is that right?
I am, yes. About as south as you can get, pretty much.
So how long have you lived over there, or have you always lived there?
No, I was born in Southampton, but we've been over here since 1990, so I've been here longer than I've been anywhere else. So yeah, a wee while. It's a bit marmitey over here, I have to say. You love it or you hate it. It's a lovely place to live. Beautiful beaches. You're not far from Forest Beach, or like you say, you can call it a town. They're not really busy towns, but like I say, if you want to go and do events and things, it's the ferries and the water that are a bit of a pain. But yeah, it's a lovely place.
So where's your nearest? Because I'm totally ignorant. I always wanted to go there, but never been as yet. Well, it's on the bucket list. Where's your nearest next port?
So we are sort of Southampton is literally just across the road of the water from Cowes, and then Ryde to Portsmouth. So they're the main sort of ports for us. So yeah.
And how long does that take to get from one to the other?
So I live in Northwood, which is Cowes. So we're literally about 5-10 minutes away from the passenger ferry, which takes you to Southampton. That one takes about 25 minutes or so to get across to Southampton. So that's the foot passenger. So yeah, if you go across in the car ferry to Southampton, it takes pretty much an hour. Right. And then Ryde to Portsmouth, if you go on the car ferry, takes about 3/4 of an hour or so.
Not too bad then.
No, it's just the most expensive strip of water in the world, so they say, and I think that's probably true. So yeah, it's expensive.
Right.
Definitely.
But you're fortunate enough, I believe, to have a tri club on your island. Yeah.
We do.
That's cool.
So yeah, we've got Wight Tri is my club. I think there's a junior club set up sort of in the last couple of years, but yeah, Wight Tri is the club that I have been with for the last 6 years. Cool. Yeah.
Excellent. Cool. Right, so let's go right back to when you were growing up, and what sort of sporting events and things did you do as a kid?
So my memory is always just wanting to sort of play sport, whether that's out in the street messing around, playing with my brothers and sisters, or at school, netball, hockey, rounders, gym, whatever it would be, climbing up the ropes, climbing up the bars, whatever it would be, it would just be sport. Sport was a big passion. Just used to really enjoy it, really. But I guess I've never really I've always enjoyed it and been good at most things, but never amazing at anything, if that makes sense. So a bit of a jack of all trades and just love it all. So yeah, athletics, you name it. I throw my hat into all of it, and cross country, didn't particularly love it, but did it because it's, you just do it, don't you? So yeah, just always been in loving sport and always have done. So yeah, like I say, played a lot of netball, probably better at that. Played a lot of hockey, rounders, or team captain, that sort of thing. So always just kind of really enjoyed sport since I can remember, really. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah, a mixed bag. So nothing. You never did anything like swimming seriously or running or.
No, never been a swimmer, never been a runner, never been a cyclist at all. No, definitely none of those things.
So from leaving school then, did you do sport at colleges or university if you went, or?
Yeah, so I did A-levels and then went off to St Mary's in Twickenham University College. and did a degree in sports science and sports rehabilitation, which is a bit like sports injuries, with a view to possibly doing physio stuff, which I never did. But so yeah, I went off to uni, and again, like I say, it was just sport all over the place. A bit of rugby, a bit of this, that, and the other. Played a lot of hockey, and again, like you say, done a lot of different events hockey-wise, and sort of championships through university. Really, captained the sort of local team and the university team. And that was my passion, really, I suppose, hockey, and trying to get to watch the rugby, but you can see it, but you can't get there.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? So close, but so far.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And through your working life then, up until you found triathlon, what did you do anything specifically, or was it just generally keeping fit?
Work-wise, so no, I kind of fully intended from my degree to take up, that was my plan, was sort of physio or something like that, but decided that I'd had enough of that, and left uni when I finished my degree, and took a completely different course. Started working in a bank for a little while, started working as a police support staff worker, and then joined the police 20 years ago.
Right.
So been doing that for the last 20 years with sort of shift work and different shift patterns and things, and so nothing to do with sport at all.
Wow. But you need to be fit, pretty fit for that, I guess.
I guess it's horses for courses. Everyone's different. I've maintained my passion for sort of health and fitness throughout. Everyone's different, I suppose. There's a level of fitness that you have to maintain on an annual basis, but yeah, for me, it's sort of that and some. So yeah, like I say, hockey has always been a big passion up until about 6 years ago. So I've massively been invested in sort of club hockey and county hockey and stuff like that. And generally sort of going to the gym and just keeping fit generally. So yeah.
Oh. And so what was your first venture into multisport then? How did that come about?
Do you know what? I absolutely no idea, to be fair. So I think it was about 6 years ago. So I presume my memory of it is sort of, watching the Brownlees and seeing how, what they were doing in triathlon and thinking that was like really good fun. I quite like health and fitness. I like challenging. I've always been a very competitive person. I'd say my granddad would always say second place is first loser and all those sorts of things. So I've kind of been brought up in that real kind of competitive sort of nature. And yeah, just sort of saw them doing what they were doing, thought that looked like fun. But like you say, at that point, I kind of thought, well, I've been a lifeguard and stuff like that, so I can swim, but not properly swim, as in head under the water, front crawl. That's never been something that I've been able to properly do. So we were just doing a lot of gym work at the time. I kept getting shin splints, couldn't run. Not to be able to exercise is like, sheer hell. So I decided that the pool was downstairs rather than go running on the treadmill. I couldn't do that. I thought I'm going to teach myself to swim head under the water. So I kind of self-taught, which is why my swim is probably the weakest element, because it's not the best technique, needs work. And yeah, once I managed to sort of, I was doing sort of regularly doing 100 lengths in the morning before work. And I thought, well, I can swim, so there's no reason why I can't give it a go. And it just kind of happened, the event. I think it was September 2014, the Wight Tri, which is our local one, just signed up for it.
Yeah.
To raise some money for the charity. As I say, got over the finishing line and collapsed over the finishing line, and literally Steve Redgrave moment, said to my husband, I'm never doing that again. That was horrendous. And then very quickly thought, well, actually, you get better on the swim, you get better on the bike, you get better on the run. Let's do it again. And yeah, the rest, as they say, is history. But yeah, I've kind of no idea how it really happened. It just kind of happened.
Yeah. And then how long was it until you joined the club then, after you'd done your first one?
It took me quite a while. They did sort of sort of evening session swims at one of the local pools. And again, I had this sort of big kind of thing in my head that, well, I'm not good enough to join a club, you know, so I kind of put it off. And then when I eventually went along to the Wednesday night session, realised that actually I'm, you know, just as good, if not better than some people here that are doing this. So yeah, I think it's probably a good few months. I think probably the next year, I would have thought. So 2015 at some point, went along to the swim sessions and yeah, started sort of getting into different bits with the club more and more from there, and getting more support, and kind of took off from there.
Yeah, and that helped everything, swim, bike and run, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, the first try in 2014 that I did was on a hybrid bike, and I remember it was a Boardman bike going around the route, and it kept flicking the chain off and things like that. And obviously, so that wasn't ideal. So it wasn't the best of, like you say, the best of experiences, shall we say? But yeah, didn't put me off. Well, it did, but it didn't.
That's good then. And I noticed in your email that you'd put about the Island Games. Do you want to explain a little bit about that? Because that was I was just having a chat to my wife. I've never heard of that.
So the Island Games Association basically is it's a group of different islands from all across the world. So you've got places from Bermuda to Gotland to Innismont, Anglesey, Jersey, Guernsey, you know, Scotland, you name it, islands from across the world that get together on a biannual, so every 2 years get together and compete against each other in reams of different sports. It's a bit of it's a mini Olympics, I can only describe it as. Right. So like I say, we as the Isle of Wight, if you're born on the Isle of Wight or you live on the Isle of Wight, then you qualify, as in you can qualify for your sport, go through a qualification process. And this year was meant to be, I think this year was meant to be Guernsey, but it's been cancelled because of COVID. 2 years ago, it was in Gibraltar. 2 years before that was my first one, which was 2017, was in Gotland, which is a little island just off Sweden. And it's just numerous different sports, and sometimes it changes each year. So yeah, you've got table tennis to sort of archery, shooting, triathlon, obviously, swimming, athletics, absolutely loads of different sports. But literally it's like a mini Olympics. And you're just competing against people from, you know, islands from all over the world. So yeah, it's good fun.
Yeah, it sounds fantastic, actually.
I missed the Bermuda one, so I'm gutted about that, but I'm waiting for the next nice hot sunny place. But yeah. yeah, that'd be so where else would there be, which apart from Bermuda, obviously, what would be your favorite island that is in that Island Games that you'd like to go and visit? Oh god, I mean, you've got Cayman Islands, you've got all sorts of places. It's there's absolutely, yeah, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I've got so you go across, I go and grab it, actually. I've got a big you part of it is the opening ceremony, a little bit like the opening ceremony that you do for the Euros or the Worlds and things, and then you share your badges with different countries. So let's get these out, give you an idea of the different places. And some of them don't even make sense, to be fair, but yeah, you kind of basically go around and you share all your like if you can see all of that.
Oh yeah,
different badges of different countries, yeah. And things. So yeah, there's absolutely reams and reams of them.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. What have we got? So yeah, oh, I can't even read half of them. Yeah, there's just absolutely loads of them.
Yeah.
It's Team Isle of Wight, there we go, yeah. Scotland, different Innismont, Falkland Islands, Cayman Islands.
That'll be a trip.
Menorca. So yeah, it is good. It's just like a little mini, like I say, it's just like a little mini Olympics, and it's just such a good good fun experience. It's great. But yeah, definitely encourage anyone that can do that to do it. Orkney Islands, all over the place. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, Bermuda's down.
Yeah, well, I'd say I'd not heard of it. No, so new one to me. Every day's a school day.
Yeah.
From your games then, how did you find out about Agegroup Multisport?
So a few members of my club, one in particular, who is about 20 years older, sort of friend of mine, who regularly does it each year and was going off to compete at different places, Australia and different places like that, and kind of just suggested, and it was her actually that manages the Island Games team on over here for the Isle of Wight, and just suggested, come along to, I think it was I wasn't Box End, it was St Neots, I think, at the time. Come along, just do it. It was end of season thing, you'll be absolutely fine, you'll qualify. And I thought, that's absolutely no way I'll qualify. But anyway, I just kind of threw my hat in last minute, entered the event at St Neots, and I think I came somewhere in the top 10 of my age group, and got a roll down place for Wight as it was in 2019. So yeah, just sort of came across it by a friend of mine, Liz Dunlop, basically saying about, come along, give it a go. Absolutely encouraging me and supporting me, and sort of believing that, in something that I could do. I absolutely no belief in myself at all at that point, and just went along, gave it a go, and yeah, managed to get a roll down place.
So you
then obviously went to it.
Yeah, cool. So she was obviously a GB athlete already. Were you the only other one then that had done it? And how many, and has there been many more people have qualified since in your club?
Yeah, I think we've had a few over the years. So again, another friend of mine, Steve Dines, used to do quite a lot of it. I think hasn't done it for a little while. Liz has continued to do it throughout. She's an absolute inspiration, to be fair. Other people have qualified for sort of long distance. So Ironman for GB, I think a couple of years ago. Another friend of mine who's, I think, since quit, Stu Dyer, has done it as well for the club. Sort of done middle distance and Olympic distance mainly. So there's been a few people. The Isle of Wight's actually got quite a few GB age group athletes, or has done. But yeah, I'm not aware of many. So this season we should have had 4 of us going to Valencia. As it happens, I'm the only one that actually went. So everybody else kind of pulled out or was forced to pull out for different reasons. So yeah, it went from 4 to 1. So
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, it's a bit. I mean, I was supposed to be at Valencia as well, but mine was due to injury not going, so that's why I didn't get there. But I mean, a lot of people have decided not to go due to COVID and the actual hassle of getting all the. It just seemed a lot. I mean, I pulled out, like I said, because of injury, but it seemed a lot of effort to get there because of COVID and everything. How did you find it from your perspective, with everything that you needed to do? Was it as fraught as it looked or appeared?
Yeah, it was horrendous. I honestly didn't think it would go ahead. I thought at some point they're going to pull it.
Yeah, I was exactly the same. That's where I was at. Yeah, I didn't think it would. Yeah. And especially as they'd cancelled Bermuda, a week before, I just thought, still didn't think it was going to happen, but fair play,
No, I'm gobsmacked. I, honestly thought at some point the plug's going to be pulled. This isn't going to happen, or that the government are going to change it to red from amber or something, and it's just something's going to happen at the last minute. But it was a nightmare. If I'm honest, it was a nightmare because
let's for those of us who didn't get there, it'd be nice to hear the first-hand experience of what you actually had to go through.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's no one's been abroad, no one's been flying, no one's been going anywhere. And beforehand, you just booked your flight, you just took your passport, that's it. Whereas this time it was a case of, if you're double vaccinated, then you go down this pathway for tests. If you're not double vaccinated, you go down this way for pathway. And of course, my husband came with me. I'm double vaccinated. and he isn't. So we had two completely different pathways to negotiate. But on top of that, not just that, it was the Fit to Fly form that we had to complete for Spanish. So the Spanish form that we had to complete, health questionnaire. Everything just seemed more complicated because the first time you're doing it just doesn't make any sense. Once you've done it, you think, okay, that wasn't as bad as I thought. And seeing all the different posts that everybody was putting on Facebook about, this isn't working, or I haven't got this back and that's not working. And of course, this anxiety just builds and builds and builds, and you think this is going to be horrific. So yeah, having to get the right tests in place before you go, if you require them, to make sure you get those back in time to get on a flight, complete your Spanish health questionnaire, which you then need to have your flight seat numbers. So you can't then wait for the 24 hours before to get your flight seat numbers. You have to sort that out before, to then complete your form, to fill in you then work out what day you need to do your PCR or antigen test to pick your race pack up. So do you wait till you get out there and do it, or do you do it before you go, or the morning before you go? Because you need to make sure that comes back, and then complete that form as well, and obviously get that confirmation back from I think it was the International Triathlon Union were doing those. And then again, once you're out there, it's working out, well, my flight is on this date. I need to now do an antigen or PCR test, depending on which bit of government legislation that you go by. The recommendation is you do one or the other. So which one do you do? Work out what day you have to do that, complete that whilst you're out there, fill in your form to come back again. And I have to say, the British form to come back was by far the harder form to complete, and the Spanish one was far easier. But again, it's once you've done them, they're actually not as bad as you think. But it's just that not knowing and trying to do it, and then making sure that you've got an internet connection whilst you're out there to sort it all out. You've got no way of printing stuff out. It's just, I have to say, it was all of that I kind of thought numerous times, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? This is just so stressful. And I saw on Facebook one of the girls who I actually met for the first time in my age group going over, Joanne Oakey. She'd put like a day-to-day, right, Monday I need to do this, Tuesday I need to do this, Wednesday I need to do this. It was like a day-to-day. And I thought, that's what I need. So I contacted her and said, look, you've got it. You know exactly what you need to do. And we had a conversation. So I worked out from her kind of, what days to do what on, and did exactly that. I plotted my weekly time days, what to do, and it kind of fell into place from there, to be fair. But up until that point, I was pulling my hair out with stress and thinking, I just want to get there, I just want to compete, and I just want to get back home again before anything goes wrong. So it does kind of take it away from the event. But once you're out there, obviously, it is what it is, and you can kind of relax and enjoy it. So yeah, it was chaotic.
Yeah, but in the end, for you, very worthwhile.
Yeah, I mean, I considered, like you say, going out, because standard is normally my strongest event. Had the opportunity to do the sprint and the standard. That's what I qualified for, and I kind of thought, we've had nothing for the last couple of years. Yeah. They're both going ahead. Let's give it a go. I've got qualifications for both. I've got the opportunity to race in both. I've never raced back-to-back Saturday, Sunday before, or I hadn't done. So I had the opportunity a couple of weekends before at Box End. There was the National Sprint Champs on the Saturday, and then the European Qualifier on the Sunday. I'd already entered the qualifier on the Sunday for the standard. And again, my friend Liz kind of said, we're going up to Box End, the sprint qualifier, the sprint nationals on the Saturday, let's give it a go, because that's what we're doing in Valencia. And I thought, that's a really stupid idea. Why would you want to do that? And then I kind of thought a little bit more about it, and I thought, actually, it's a good idea to test it and just see, if the nutrition works, if the recovery works, how your body physically will respond to 2 events back to back. Gave that a go. Like I say, won the national champs in my age group on the Saturday, and then qualified, obviously, for the Sunday was the important one. It was a bit of a gamble, really, because the Sunday was the important qualifier. Did that one, got my qualification, so I knew then I could do the back-to-back. So that was all go, really, for Valencia, just knowing it was going to be a bit hotter.
Yeah. And the venue, how was the venue? Was it good? Was it as nice as because I've not been to Valencia, but everybody I spoke to said it's a fantastic city.
Yeah, it was really nice. I mean, you don't get to see a huge amount of it, like I say, because you're when you get there, you're prepping and then racing, and then obviously getting back home again. But yeah, it's
especially if you're doing 2 races.
Especially if you're doing 2, exactly. Everyone else is recovering and enjoying, you're going out for meals, and you're thinking, I'm going to go home and recover now and do it again tomorrow. Yeah. But yeah, it's lovely. The people there are lovely. The weather was absolutely fantastic. We arrived on the Wednesday night to lightning storm like no one's. It was crazy. And the weather for the next few days was really up and down. 1 minute sunshine, the next minute really, really windy. The marina was really choppy. I'd seen that on the Friday and looked at it and I thought, this is horrendous. And thankfully, Saturday, Sunday, the forecast was for it to be calm, no wind, and sunshine. And it came out. It was, it was calm and it was lovely, but it was hot. Yeah. But yeah, it's pretty. We tried to see a little bit of it on Monday before we came back. Went into the old town for a couple of hours. But yeah, it's a lovely place, and the people there are lovely, definitely.
So that's a really good account of the whole thing. In your races, obviously you went really well. You got a bronze in the sprint and 4th place in the standard. So that's really good. That's qualified you for next year then already.
Yeah, it has. So yeah, I had qualification already for next year, wherever the European standards will be. But like I say, this gives me that definite qualification from Valencia this year. And obviously with Munich, with all the deferrals and things, it's all a little bit unknown, isn't it? But I've absolutely got that qualification. So even though I've qualified through the qualification process this year, it's not certain because of the deferment. So, but this, as a result of the bronze, I've got my qualification for next year. And I really want to go to Munich as well.
Yeah, excellent. So that's really good. So on to the quick fire questions then. What advice would you give to anybody starting out in multisport?
What advice would I give? Just give it a go. You don't know what you can achieve until you try. That is my mantra. You will never know what you can achieve until you try. You don't be put off. Just throw yourself in and just give it a go.
Yeah. And what advice would you give to somebody who's already in multisport but wants to qualify for GB? Again,
it's just, just research things a little bit, speak to people who are already doing it, and I think you'll realise that if you put your mind to it, it's achievable. You just need to research a little bit, where the event is, and what sort of performance you need to put out to get that qualification. But like I say, if you put your mind to it, anything is achievable.
And how did you go about that then, finding out sort of like where you needed to be? Or did you just rock up and give it a go?
Basically, no, basically just rocked up and gave it a go. Yeah. So as a friend, so my friend that took me up, she knew obviously different people there. I'd come to know a few people that I was competing against in my age group. And come to the run, I kind of sort of pinpointed a couple of them, certain people that I knew were in my age group, and just knew that I had to get in front of them. Come what may, you just got to get in front of them, just get in front of them, and that's kind of what I did. I just rocked up, gave it a go, knew who I had to kind of stick with, and just that's what I did basically.
So you basically looked at other athletes' times and saw how far off you were, or how close you were, or even how in front you were of other athletes. I think that's quite crucial actually, if you want to be competitive, and I guess all age groups are different, because some of them are more competitive than others. So some of them are easier to qualify the older you get, allegedly. My 75-year-old teammate keeps telling me it's easy for me, there's only 6 of us. So I said, but you've lasted that long, John, and you're still doing it, so that's
absolutely
it.
Hats
Survival
off,
of the fittest.
Yeah, there's people, age group 80 plus, 85, they're incredible and they still do it.
Oh, absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
So what's your favourite piece of kit?
My favourite piece of kit got to be my bike. So I do. What bike have I got? So I've got an Argon 18 E119. So I'm really lucky really. My husband is, he spoils me and makes sure that I've got what I need, and so I do like my bike. It's comfy, and it just feel really comfy on it. Just don't like the strong winds though. It still frightens me a bit.
Yeah, well, it can be a bit hazardous, can't it?
Yeah.
Especially on a TT bike. We've got deep rims at the front as well. Yeah. Did you take any spare wheels with you just in case, or no?
No, I have to say I am completely rubbish with anything. Yeah, I get on it and ride it. That's it. I don't know anything about how to take it apart, how to fix it. So yeah, again, I'm really lucky. Like I say, if I go and get it dirty, then my husband pretty much cleans it for me. I give him a hand doing it, but he does it all for me. So I'm quite spoilt really. I should get my hands dirty and learn, but yeah.
Maybe one day.
Yeah, I think if I had a puncture, I'd be stuffed.
Well, I'm definitely on a sprint. It wouldn't make any difference anyway, would it?
No.
Your short-term and your long-term goals, what would you like to achieve?
So my short-term goals for the winter are definitely to improve my swim. I need to get a swim coach. I'm losing huge amounts of time to my fellow competitors on the swim every single time. I then have to make up the time on the bike, so and the run. So yeah, for me, it's the swim training, improve on that. And transitions, again, it's not my forte. I need to work on it. I'm not someone who can kind of do a flying start onto the bike and then keep my feet, shoes on the pedals and jump and run back off again. It is something that I need to learn. But I think coming to it as someone slightly older, not that older, my head kind of tells me that, if you try and doing those sort of silly things, you're going to fall off. And it's really hard to kind of get your head around it. So I need to psychologically get my head around that and learn.
I think you've seen the pros race. Even they struggle. It's a nightmare sometimes watching them. So you shouldn't beat yourself up about not being able to do it. They do it as a job, and they stuff it up lots and lots of times. So it is what it is. But it is the fourth discipline, and it needs practice, doesn't it? It's just
and we don't do enough of it.
No, because we haven't got time, have we? It's like
we're
that busy doing the swimming, the biking, and just another question while it comes into my head. What's your strongest discipline?
Probably it's definitely not the swim. But my strongest discipline is probably my bike. Albeit my run has definitely improved this season. So I've taken a lot of nutrition, sort of better nutrition, and I've sort of leaned up a bit, lost a little bit of weight, etc. And my run has just come on nobody's business. I don't know where that's come from, but my running is definitely, I'm overtaking people rather than being overtaken, which doesn't normally happen. But yeah, probably the strongest on the bike. It's where I pick up the most places normally.
And your long term?
Long term, I think for me is to keep trying to qualify for GB age group and get back on that podium. I would love to have taken a double medal at Valencia, although I had absolutely no expectations going there. But yeah, definitely to medal again for Team GB and try and improve on that bronze, move up. But improve the swim, improve the transition. There's no reason why that shouldn't happen. But you've got to be in it to win it.
You do. So what sort of time were you behind? So you got fourth in your standard. How far behind were you to getting on the podium?
1 minute, so 60 seconds basically. Which absolutely, for once, it wasn't the transition. But if you look at the swim times, it's my swim time. I've lost about 3-4 minutes on the swim. So that's that is potentially, well, it is podium basically, by improving that swim. And again, I've missed out on the silver in the sprint by 26 seconds, and that was an absolute mistake in the transition and poor swim. So But yeah.
Well, that's good. I mean, you take the positives out of that. Look at the potential there. Then
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I try not. You can't be disappointed when it's been such a fantastic weekend. Just to do. I mean, two of us in the age group did the back-to-back sprint and standard. Everybody else, most of the age group apart from two of us didn't do that. And yeah, it was tough going. So, but like I say, not much off those improving positions.
Fabulous. And I think the final question is, what resources suggest that people would use or look at or read or listen to?
That's a good one. So yeah, I tend to look at quite a lot of. So I use Trainer Road quite a lot. I know a lot of people use Zwift. I've never used it. I have no idea, but everyone keeps saying use Zwift, and I've never tried it yet. Trainer Road is something that I quite like following. It's really quite structured. And I do a lot of sort of just reading up on, some of the emails that come out. So 220 Triathlon put out loads of different bits around sort of strength training and just generally information that comes out from those. But yeah, no sort of particular books that I've read other than, things like the Louise Minchin stuff and things like that, which just inspire you to go and give it a go.
Sure.
It's kind of the message from her book really, is just go out there, give it a go, and you can achieve things. But yeah, so for me it's things like that, and talking to people that do it, in trying to help others and inspire others. It's nice when people sort of say they look up to you and want to do what you do, and you kind of think, well, I've only been doing it for a couple of years, but it's nice to be able to help other people into triathlon as well. But yeah.
And you might have only been doing it for a few years, but look at where you've got to in that time, and it just shows people that actually putting the hard work in and being motivated and loving what you're doing, it gets you to where you want to be, doesn't it? So,
and it's a bit addictive. I think there's no two ways about it. It is addictive. You go to work full time, and then squeezing in the training either before you go to work or when you get home from work or whatever else it is. You do it because you enjoy it. It takes you away from the stresses of your day. You can lose yourself in your training, and you're looking at that ultimate goal of competing at GB Tri-Suit with your name on it, and that's just the ultimate. Yeah. Apart from standing on the top of that podium, that's the ultimate. But it's just incredible. It's an incredible experience, and yeah, absolutely would encourage anyone to give it a go because it's awesome.
And that is a fantastic place to finish it. Couldn't have said any more than that. So thank you ever so much for coming on. Lovely to meet you. Okay. Congratulations again. Right. And hopefully might get to see you at a race one day.
Definitely. Thank you very much.
A massive thank you again to Janet Fletcher for coming on, and inspirational story as always. And good luck to Janet in her future ventures. I'm sure she's going to move up the podium and get to that top step eventually, sooner rather than later. And we learnt something about the Island Games. Never knew that. So every day's a school day. So this episode's lifestyle hack is sourdough. And I've been making sourdough for nearly 3 years. Usually make about 2 loaves a week. That sees me and Mrs. C through nicely. And I started just to see if I could make the culture, because Mrs. C, she'd had to go after watching the Great British Bake Off, and she was a bit unsuccessful and got a bit fed up with it. So I thought, well, I'll have a go. So I went on YouTube and looked at a link on there. And there was an Irish guy who put a video up. I think it's called I Love Cooking Ireland is the channel. And yeah, he's called Patrick Ryan, and he's the owner of Firehouse Bakery over in Ireland. So I watched his video, very knowledgeable, really easy to follow, and I made a culture, and it was successful. And we've been making bread from it ever since, and the bread's just got better and better. And I've kept this culture alive for, well, like I say, making bread for nearly 3 years. And it's a bit like having, I don't know whether you remember those little computer pets that you used to have to feed back in the day. And if you didn't feed them or look after them, they would just die. I think it was called a Tamagotchi. I never had one myself. It sort of like passed me by. But yeah, sourdough's a little bit like that. So anyway, I made this sourdough culture, and I fed it And in the beginning, I used to feed it every day, about 150 grams of flour and 150 grams of water. And then I worked out that if you put it in the fridge, it went dormant, so you didn't have to feed it every day, which saved us hassle, and it also saved us on the flour. So we never have to buy shop-bought bread at all now. We just make our own. And I love bread. It's one of my favourite things. And sourdough is far and away the most healthiest choice. So why is sourdough so good for us? Well, because it doesn't use any yeast. It's easier for our digestive system to break down, because the bacteria in the sourdough helps break down the starches even before we eat it, so that's one thing. Second thing is it's low in GI, so it won't spike your blood sugars. Third thing, because it takes quite a long time to prep, it takes us 6 hours in total to make a couple of loaves. Well, I guess it depends how many loaves you want to make. You could make 4 or 5 loaves in 6 hours, but I usually make a couple of loaves and it takes 6 hours. So that's 3 hours first proof, knock it back, 3 hours second proof, and then cooking it. It means that it's better for your gluten sensitivity. And as I've said, it's got no yeast, so there's less chance of infections. You know what's going in it if you source your flour very carefully. There's no preservatives added. But like I say, you've got to make sure you're putting some really good organic flour in there. And whole grains as good as any. You could use wholemeal, I suppose. But the less refined, the better. It's good fuel for your gut because it feeds your good gut bacteria, which is better for your biome. It's nutritious. It's got all the nutrition that you would expect from a loaf of bread. And it tastes fantastic. I'll cook a couple of loaves on a Friday and half of it will be gone as soon as it's out the oven. It's just that nice. And the other good thing about it is that I've actually given several cultures away to various people. One as far as Scotland. So literally, I make the culture, feed it, and make up a good stock of it, and then I can feed it off and give 300 grams of this culture to people, and then that's their starter kit. They can then start feeding it, and then they can start making bread from it. So if that doesn't inspire you to make your own culture, start making your own sourdough bread, well, I've done my best, and I hope you give it a go. And that's about it for this week. So thank you for listening. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you want to get in touch, you can drop us an email at agegroupmultisportpodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram at AMP, Age Group Multisport Podcast. You can find us on YouTube at AmpGB, and you can find us on Facebook at AMP 1967. And we're also on Twitter at Age Group Multisport Podcast. And I think I've covered it all there. And if you'd like what you hear, please give us a like, a thumbs up, leave us a comment, negative or positive, don't mind. Nice to get some feedback either way. And that's about it for now. So until next time, stay safe, keep training, and love the process.